Thanks for joining us today on Dolly TV. My name is Gypsy, and I'm going to be your host today as we discuss this nostalgic journey down my past that I wanted to take, talking a little bit about my doll collection from when I was in my childhood. I think it's probably too strong of a word to call this a doll collection because I wasn't purposefully collecting dolls for the sake of collecting them, but I actively played with Barbie dolls at this time, so I'm going to go back to that time in my history and try to remember some of these dolls that I associate with my childhood. Some of you guys already know this and some of you don't. If you are interested in more of this story, you can hit me up over on my second channel, Anxiety Av, which I will link in the description on this video, and you guys can hear the full detailed backstory there. The summary of it is that my childhood was extremely traumatic. Some of the Barbie dolls that I am talking about in this video are going to be things that trigger some memories for me. So if you hear me talking about some stuff that sounds sad or depressing, that's why. Overall, the dolls made things a lot better for me, so that's why this is not all like a bad thing. It's just, you'll see. Okay. So when I was a kid, I grew up in South Korea initially, and when I lived in Korea, I always loved dolls. I always loved dolls. As far back as I can remember into my childhood, I feel like I always was drawn to dolls. I don't remember ever being afraid of them or not being interested in them or just, not having them as a preference for some kind of a toy to play with. So I always associated dolls with positivity. When I was little, my parents would never buy me a Barbie doll. I didn't have a Barbie doll. My first fashion doll, they were called Mimi Inyoung, Mimi dolls. And even though Barbie was an American thing and my dad was American and we went to school on the army base and sometimes he would take us to this place called Toyland, which was a toy shop on the base. We browsed through the aisles. I'd of course go straight to the doll aisles because I was fascinated by Barbie. But my dad refused to buy me one. He would never, ever, ever let us pick out Barbie dolls. I can't remember the reason why, or if he had even told us why. I'm planning on actually interviewing my mother about this part of my childhood to see if she can give me some type of a reasoning for why they were like this, but I don't know. They just wouldn't buy me a Barbie doll. So I would just lust after them, but then when I actually wanted to play with fashion dolls, I had to settle for Mimi. The reason I didn't like Mimi was because Mimi to me seemed like she was supposed to be like a Korean girl. In theory, culturally, that's how people presented Mimi. To me, it just seemed like Mimi was just what Korean people's imagination tells them a white girl's supposed to look like. Even though I was a little kid, something about that didn't feel right to me. It was almost like they were sending this message to little Korean girls that if you want to be pretty and fashionable and beautiful, you should try to look more like a white person. That's what I thought they were trying to say. And I didn't understand that because I thought Korean people are already beautiful the way that they are. Why are they so obsessed with how white people look? So it bothered me for some reason. But when I went to the store and saw the Barbie dolls, the Barbies always came off very genuine. The black girl was a black girl. The Spanish girl was a Spanish girl. The white girl was a white girl. And they were just being themselves. That's how it seemed to me. And it looked like they just were so confident. And they didn't have joints, but they had these arms. And I was obsessed with those arms. The Mimi dolls, they had straight limbs, but they had some kind of weird thing inside them where you could move them like wire or something so you could pose the dolls. But it just looked so unnatural and strange to me. And for some reason, Barbie's stance just got me. I was just like, she's so confident. I could imagine myself pulling this arm up and with that, the Superman stance. I just kept picturing that in my mind every time I would see a Barbie doll. So this is what fascinated me about Barbie, but I couldn't have one. So I settled for Mimi. Then when we got to America, when I was in second grade-ish, my aunt, my only aunt on my dad's side, she has a daughter. And this daughter is my cousin. And when I would go to her house to play with her, she had so many Barbie dolls. I couldn't believe it, okay? My aunt she bought me my very first Barbie because me and my sister were both taken to the toy store and they were asking us like each to pick out one thing that we really wanted. My sister went straight for the rollerblades. She was a total tomboy. I went straight for the Barbie aisle. The very first Barbie doll that I was given was by my Aunt Sherry. Oh my goodness. And she like changed my life, but I don't think she even realizes the impact that that doll had on me. The doll that I remember her getting me, if I'm not mistaken, I believe was Glitter Hair Barbie, and I am pretty sure that it was the brunette. She was the Teresa version, I think, and I was in love with that doll, you guys. She was my prized possession. Like, oh my gosh. I loved that doll. We were living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the time, and like, my mom and dad had a very volatile relationship and it was a domestic violence situation. So my mom ended up kind of leaving in the middle of the night with me and my sister and just running away to a battered woman shelter with us. And she asked us to only take like the most important things with us. So to me, that was my Barbie doll and my sticker collection. I was obsessed with stickers, you guys. And some of the really memorable ones, other than this one that I recall, they're not in any particular order. I'm just gonna throw them out there, and then if I can remember what the occasion was that I got them under, I'll tell you, but if I can't remember, then don't kill me. So I remember having Butterfly Princess Barbie. I can't remember which version of her I had. Was it the blonde one or was it the black one? But like, I don't think it was the black one, just because at that time I was not into the black Barbie dolls, like in the least bit. I did not think I was missing anything by not having the black dolls, because to me the black dolls didn't look as pretty as the other dolls in the lighter skin tone. So I was more focused on Teresa and what was the other one? Kayla. There was like a redhead. Kayla, Teresa, and I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But anyways, there were the darker haired girls and the red haired girls. I liked them over Christy, so I wasn't really worried if I didn't get a black doll. So that's why I feel like I didn't get the black one, because I wouldn't have picked her out. And then the other hair colored ones, I can't really remember if I picked that doll. So I feel like I probably had the Barbie version with the blonde hair, because I think someone gave that doll to me as a present, and I didn't pick it out. So it had to have been the white one, I think. Butterfly Princess Barbie. What I remember most about Butterfly Princess Barbie is that stupid song that was on the commercial. Butterfly Princess Barbie. Remember that stupid song? Like, I remember every time that commercial would come on, I would hear like the music from it and go run to the TV to watch it, because I was just obsessed with Barbie dolls, of course. I loved jewel hair Mermaid Barbie. I am sure that I had this doll. I think I may have had two of them, probably not at the same time, but I feel like I remember having the something in gold, so probably the Barbie blonde hair version. And then I remember having a dark haired one, because their hair was really long, like past the length of the actual doll. And when I first got the glitter hair Barbie as my first Barbie doll, I got used to brushing the really long hair. So I had the standard that like I wanted my doll's hair to be a certain length when I was able to pick the dolls out myself. She's got long, super duper long hair. She's a mermaid. Oh my god. Something in the tail that you could like open up, like you could open up the flippers or remove the flippers or something so that her tail turned into a dress. This one I remember having because it was the only Ken doll that I remember having back then that stands out in my memory. He was the black Steve doll, obviously. Steven, and it was, I think he was a Sparkle Beach Fun or Sparkle Beach Steven. I remember him having green shorts with like shiny stuff on it. And he was just dressed very like simple, and his packaging was super simple. I think the doll cost like $5, or I'm sure that my mother bought him for me, and she's so cheap, especially back then when we had run off from our dad, that I don't think she would have spent more than $5 on any Barbie dolls for me. So I think that that's what that was. But I distinctly remember him having those green shorts and like having nothing else to put on him. He never had any clothes on. Oh, okay. So when we ended up in foster care somewhere down the line after being with my mother on the run from our dad, right? And I'm telling you guys, I tell this whole story on my Anxiety Av channel, so you need to go check it out if you want some good story time to listen to. So when you hear my voice ranting about whatever happened to me when I was younger, and just fall asleep to it, that's the one. Go over there, okay? Alright. My mother ended up in a hospital, and then my sister and I ended up in foster care. And we were split up for the first time in our lives. So again, very traumatic situation. And I recall having a birthday party while I was in foster care. So in this party, I was turning from 8 years old to 9 years old. The reason why this birthday is so memorable to me, not only because we were in foster care, but because after being split from my sister for many months, I was able to see her that day because our foster parents had coordinated with each other to allow her to come to my party. So their family came to my party. I was so depressed from being separated from my sister and not having someone to like speak Korean with all the time, because I still thought in Korean at that time. We just came from Korea to America. So I was really traumatized that I didn't have my sister around, and I was so depressed. And like, I remember at this party, like opening presents, but even though people were giving me like dolls for gifts, I should have been ecstatic, but I remember just being like concerned the entire time that I was not going to be able to see my sister again after this visit. I was just sad like the whole time because I didn't want to say bye to her. Like I didn't want to leave her side at the party. And granted, nobody knew back then that I had Asperger's. So like my sister was like my security blanket. I was so attached to her. Anyway, so the party was over, whatever. And then when we got back, and then I had to actually like look at the inventory of gifts that I had received, that's where I think I had the Butterfly Princess Barbie there. And this one doll called Locket Surprise Barbie, and I remember I had Kayla specifically with the red hair and the blue dress. She had the molded top, which I freaking hated, but I loved that the locket opened up in her chest and she had like lip gloss or something in there. Like that was the surprise. That feature I thought was kind of cool, but I really didn't like that she had a molded body. I remember my foster sister playing with me because my foster sister was a Barbie doll fanatic as well, and her parents and the other, adults that were associated with our foster family, they all knew that me and her would play Barbies all the time, like for hours, right? Just occupied all day playing Barbies. I feel like I had a couple, maybe one of each or one or two Skippers and Stacy's, along with Courtney and Whitney, which were supposed to be their friends. I don't remember if I had any Todd dolls. I don't really remember, but I know I had at least one Ken because I feel like my main doll named Siji Ranson, she was named after my imaginary friend from when I was little, when I lived in Korea. And her Korean name that I gave her was Shinji, and I would like pretend I was hanging out with her and talk to her and chill with her, especially when I was trying to make my sister like upset because she didn't want to do something that I wanted to do. So what the heck was wrong with me? I think I used to be like so manipulative to my sister when I was little because I was so bossy and controlling, and I always wanted to like be the person who picked what we were gonna do for fun. Yeah, so Siji Ranson was the name of my glitter hair Barbie that I was just in love with, right? Somewhere along the way in our journey from the battered women's shelter to the foster care system, I lost my Barbie doll that my aunt had given to me. And I remember that during foster care, somebody had asked me like, what is my favorite Barbie in the whole world? And I said, glitter hair Barbie. So I do remember during this birthday party, I'm pretty sure that glitter hair Barbie was another doll that I had been given as a gift, but this one was the blonde one because I remember thinking, oh, her hair color is wrong. It wasn't the exact same doll, but I was okay with it because it was still the same doll, kind of, So I have both of those at different times in my life. And if I was ever to just get one doll from my childhood that was nostalgic to me, that would be the doll that I would get, glitter hair Barbie. Teresa with the brunette hair, mainly for the memories, not even because I think she's all that or like, oh, she's so beautiful. Like, I don't even feel like that about that doll. It's just literally just the memories attached to her, and that she was my first Barbie ever. I was probably in middle school at this time, 7th or 8th grade. We had moved to Brooklyn, New York. My mom had been in a very abusive relationship with this insane guy who was doing a lot of bad things to me and my sister. Somewhere along the line, I think my mother decided she was gonna run away from him or something to that effect. And I recall us having to make a very quick move. I don't recall the details of like what was going on at that time, but I just remember us having to like leave very suddenly, which happened a lot to me when I was a kid. And during this move, my mom told me to like, pack up our stuff. And of course, because I already knew where this was going, the most important things I packed first, which were my dolls. And at that point, I think I had accrued 2 black trash bags worth of dolls. So that's all I grabbed. That's the only thing I wanted to bring with me. My mother didn't have a car. She had no way for us to like move around in a vehicle. So we had to rely on public transportation and walking everywhere. She saw the bags of my dolls and she was like, you can't bring that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, that's too much. Like it's too heavy. We can't move fast enough with that. And I was so mad because she made me leave the bags on the side of the road like garbage. I remember being heartbroken, not just that I had to leave behind these huge bags of dolls, but also that I had taken pristine care of the dolls. Like, I was never one of those kids that played with dolls roughly. So I'm like, what? These are like brand new. Are you crazy? What? You cannot leave them on the side of the road. No, she wanted to leave them on the side of the road. And I begged my mom. I was like, can you please at least let me give them away to somebody? And she was like, who are you going to give it away to right now in the middle of the day? Like, we got to get out of here. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't just throw them away. Like I was in tears, a teenager in tears about leaving behind 2 bags worth of dolls on the side of the street because my crazy mother wants to run away to wherever we're going and we have no plan. What? So my entire collection just went in the garbage, literally. I prayed and I hoped that somebody came along because New York City, Brooklyn, all kinds of people are just digging in the trash all the time. I hope somebody found them bags and salvaged those dolls. I hope so. I really do. Like, oh my gosh, what a waste, right? So that totally killed my spirits about dolls. Later on, when I was an older teenager, when I was like 16-ish years old, I had started dating who ended up becoming my future baby daddy, my son Ginu's biological dad. My mother hated him. So she wanted me to stop dating him, but she couldn't figure out a way to like stop me. So she basically bribed me and told me, if I buy you dolls, will you stop dating him? And I was like, yeah, sure, okay. Oh boy. That says a lot about the future of that relationship, right guys? Anyway, don't worry, it all worked out. So to prevent me from dating this dude, she takes me to Toys R Us and she's just letting me browse and she's like, what do you want? Pick what you want off the shelf. Yeah, I got you, right? I spent a whole more than $5 this time. What's good, right? So I'm like, okay, Mom, you ballin'. So she ended up buying me my very first My Scene Barbie. And My Scene Barbies, I fell in love with them as soon as I saw them on the shelf. I was in high school at this point, and I was just like, oh my gosh, these dolls look like, because the old Barbies from the 90's, to me, just felt very played out by this time, like very archaic and like boring. And when I saw Madison, the black one, and how faloy she looked, I was like, what? They did not have no black dolls that looked like this when I was coming up. This doll stood out even more because she reminded me so much of my friend Roxanne. You guys remember Roxy when she came to visit us in North Carolina for a little while, and she was in some of our lives on Instagram. So Roxy chilled with me back then when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old. Me and her were in the same grade at school. So she just, Roxanne has her like big bold style and she's like so voluptuous and like She always looked like that, you guys. When we was kids, she looked like that, okay? She had a grown woman everything when we were kids. When I saw Madison, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Roxy as a doll. Like, I was obsessed. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, right? It reminded me of my friend. So I was like, I need to have this doll, Mom. This is the one that I want. So she got me Madison, and my mom, on the low, is kind of like a doll lover. I'm not gonna call her a collector because I think she thinks collecting dolls is very like luxurious, kind of a hobby that like snooty rich people do. But my mom doesn't think of herself that way. She's very like simple and moderate when it comes to spending money. She's cheap, okay? Let's just put it like that. So my mother, she doesn't ever want to justify buying dolls because it's just an indulgence. She would kind of vicariously collect through me. So like if she was in the store and we would be looking at dolls and she'd be like, ooh, this doll's pretty. Like if she liked that doll, she would be so eager to be like, do you want to pick any dolls today? And I would know that she liked that doll. So then I'd be like, maybe I'll go with this one. I don't know. I'm contemplating this one or this one, Mom. And she'd be like, oh, I would go with this one if I were you. And she'd like pick out the doll that she liked. And basically it worked for me because I'm like, bruh, I don't care. I like them all. So just get me whatever, you know? And her taste in dolls is very similar to mine. Like my mother loves like diverse looking dolls, black dolls. She loves black people, obviously. She married a black guy and had black kids. And she's very like mesmerized by features that resemble like ethnically mixed type of people. So when she would see these beautiful dolls, these Mycene dolls, they had these big heads. All of them looked so different. They had the same face sculpt, but the style and the hair was all different. So like you could clearly like imagine that they were these girls of different races. And my mother thought that was amazing. So during my teen years, but I was still dating him obviously because he ended up being my baby daddy. But anyway, my mom thought that I wasn't. During my teen years, my mother was kind of like rewarding me for staying away from my boyfriend by buying me dolls. So I ended up amassing a small collection of the first few waves of Mycene dolls, and I really adored about these dolls that they all had so much style. Like they came with really cool fashions that I thought was very modern at that time, and they all had hair. They had different textures of hair, different skin tones. All the boys, I had like one of each, and they all had rooted hair for the most part, or they had flocking, like it wasn't just like molded hair. So I loved that the boys came with hair, and I loved that the boys all came with joints. They moved, you guys, they moved. They didn't have stiff bodies, and I had never experienced that with a Barbie doll. So I was just hooked, like I was hooked on Mycene dolls, okay? I don't even know how many I had. I remember having like at least 20 of them because I would sit on the floor in my room and just style them, and then I would place, I had a whole room in my mom's basement that was like, I don't even know how big it was. It was really big. It was like 4 rooms put together. One entire wall was just covered with wooden shelves that were built into the wall. So it was like the perfect display case was already in the room. And I filled up those shelves with my dolls, and I had them all posed on each, shelf in like a little room set. That was my little doll museum. And when I would get kind of depressed or like just have a hard day or be stressed or I just wanted to feel relaxed, I would take my dolls down and strip all of them and then redress all of them, restyle all of them, and then put them back onto the shelves and rearrange the sets. And that's how I would like calm myself and kind of take my mind off of things, I guess. I wasn't the kind of teenager that was going out and partying. I never smoked or drank. I had never like tried any kind of drugs. I wasn't sexually active. I wasn't into any of that stuff that people nowadays is just like normal for teenagers to do. But I wasn't even into it. Like I wasn't even trying to do any of that stuff. I was content with my little dolls, okay? And even after I had gotten older, I was still collecting. Oh yeah, okay, before I forget, there's one more doll that I almost forgot about. There was a doll called Princess of China. I do remember that my mom and I were at KB Toys, and we saw these Barbie dolls that were all like princesses of different nationalities, and the one that we saw there was the Princess of China But the one that I wanted was the Princess of Korea, because I saw her on the back of the box. So I'm looking all through the shelves for Korea, and my mom's looking with me, and we could not find her for nothing. So we were just so sad because this is one of those dolls that my mom was clearly vicariously trying to collect through me. She said to me, well, Princess of China still applies because we are part Chinese. She was like, well, we could get China. That's close enough, I guess. So I was like, oh, well, okay, cool, yeah, let's do that, because I think it was the same face sculpt for both dolls. We basically settled for Princess of China. So I do remember having this doll. I remember taking her apart and like doing something, like taking her hair out of that big hair thing that she had in her head. Yeah, she was a bride doll. Now I remember, because I remember I was in that basement where I used to have all the Mycene dolls with this doll. So Princess of China was another one that should be on this list. Now this list is not complete, of course. It's based on my memory and just the things I can remember. There were other dolls all kind of just sprinkled in there that I'm totally not remembering, because I have a vague memory of Ocean Friends Barbie, because the whale and the suit, I remember playing with that, but I can't remember if she was my doll or if it was someone else's doll that I was just playing with at their house, like my cousin, maybe my foster sisters, I don't know. I remember that doll, and then I have a very vague memory of Slumber Party Barbie as well, but this is another one. I'm not certain, did I have the doll? Like, was it my doll? Because I remember her having this squishy body. She didn't have regular like vinyl parts. Her body was made of cloth so that she could be like folded up in these different positions to make her look like she's asleep. I remember that, and like I feel like I remember seeing like a sleeping bag. Did that doll come in a sleeping bag? I remember that, but I don't remember if I picked her out like on a shelf and then said I wanted this doll. I don't have a memory like that about that doll. I can't remember which version of it was, like which hair color. Oh, so I don't know if that was an actual memory of my own doll. It could have been, or it was somebody else that I was playing with. But I did play with that doll. So, you know, things like that, I can't really remember. Let me know in the comments if any of these dolls sound familiar to you. Did you also play with them, or did you own any of them? And which versions of the dolls do you remember having? And if you like this type of like story time style video, then give me a like so I'll know to make more of these, and drop it in the comments if you have specific stories that you want to hear me telling you guys about in my doll collecting journey. Before I go, I just want to give you guys a little treat. Here is my beautiful Dolls of the World Barbie Korean princess that I actually wanted, that I didn't get when I was a kid. This is the back of the box, and you can just see a little blurb there about Korean tradition and all that stuff, and why the princesses are so special, why they dress the way that they do, and I'll do more of a coverage on this doll in detail, as well as some other fun treats about Korean dolls that I have coming for you guys. So let me know in the comments if you have this doll and what you think of her. And before I go, I just want to point out this really cute top that I'm wearing with this graphic, and underneath this is OOAK, which of course in Dollyverse that means one of a kind. And it's an image that was created by my son Ginu, that he did specifically for me. I gave him a custom order for what kind of images and messages I wanted on them, and he produced this for myself and also for my dollies so that we can match each other. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of Ginu's designs on your own shirts, then go ahead and check out our merch store below. Right in the description bar, you'll see the little icons there. Click on them, it'll take you to our shop, and then you can browse all the designs that Ginu has been doing so far. And he's got really awesome, totally intricate, really amazing designs coming very soon, and we will also have matching shirts that you guys can purchase for your dollies, so all of you guys can match. You can match your dolls and you can match our dolls. Broken Dolly family, I'm so happy that you guys are here visiting us once again. Make sure you share these videos with your friends on social media and inside of your doll groups on your social media platforms. Like the video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications bell, because we noticed that YouTube is not notifying you guys when we have our new videos up. Well, that don't sound right, because we got quite a few subscribers. So double check and make sure your notifications are turned on for us, okay guys? Alright, we'll see you over on Instagram in between videos, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for watching today. My name is Gypsy. and I will see you later. Have a dolly day.
Everything I've done for you, it's worthless now. Everything that I've been through, it's useless now. Every part of me was true, but you don't care anymore. Everything I gave to you, it's pointless now.